better than
I'll take it
adequate.
back. I take it back.
Hello,
Okay, but if we aren't,
friends.
it is my fault.
Sorry we're a little late. We had some sound difficulties, but now we should be all okay to talk to y'all. Wait, I don't have. I hope we're streaming. Oh yeah, people are commenting, so that is wonderful. So how is everybody today? How was everybody's day?
I've been on vacation all week, so I am grand.
Oh,
And by
nice.
vacation, I mean not wearing a bra. Well, I have one on now, but trying not to wear pants, not leaving my apartment. It's fabulous.
All the good stuff, staying in the air conditioning, having your favorite snacks, watching all your favorite guilty pleasures, all the good stuff.
Exactly. Sleeping
Mm-hmm.
whenever I feel like it for as long as I feel like it. It's fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was out sick for a couple of days. I had a vicious summer cold.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I hate summer colds. I don't
And
know
that's
why
where
they feel
Dee
so
is.
much
She's sick
worse.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dee's
Oh,
not
yeah. That's
feeling well
where.
tonight, so that explains the lack of a fourth square here.
Yeah. Hollywood
Still Dee's
squares.
got the cold.
She's got the colds.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, friends. So today we have a hard out time because we have to watch the presidential debate. We're all proud Biden voters, as you can tell. So,
Oh,
like we
very
vote for anybody
nice.
else. Hi,
Hi,
Deidre.
Dee's
Dee.
here.
Oh, we
Feel
miss
better.
you. Here, there we go. Yeah, ugh, I'm too high for it tonight. My fingers aren't bending the right way or
It's
something.
funny. um, so yeah, so today we were going to talk about women's suffrage and not so much like necessarily like the history of it, but like kind of like how we got here today and how we're being threatened with the potential of not being able to vote. And this is something you really, at females, you really need to like talk to people. If you're already a Biden supporter, like great, talk to people. Like, if you watch Tony, talk to three people, help them get a plan going because um it's so important. Like people have literally said, and I should have gotten a clip about this, but life got in the way. But it's so like the right is so scary with so many people wanting to take away the right to vote for women, and they're telling you what they want to do. Don't think it's too crazy or the Constitution forbids it, this, that, or the other. Like Trump will do whatever the fuck he wants
And
and stop.
they're cunning, clever little fucks. Like they figured ways around it. Like they figured out if they can criminalize what makes a woman, like her ability to procreate, if they can criminalize that, then they can turn her into a felon so easily and take away her right to
Yes.
vote that way, which is in, say it with me all together, Project 2025.
25.
It's in there. It's part
Yes.
of it. It's why the fall of Roe was so huge for them and why they've had such a fucking boner for it for 40 or 50 years now. It's all part of the plan. It's
I mean, and if
Well,
you
and
want to
I could
control
go for
women,
40
strategically,
like what
minutes.
a great way to control women,
Yeah.
yeah.
like
And all of
and
their plans are systematically dehumanizing women and not just women, but women are a big part of it. But
Yeah.
dehumanizing, like you're less than a human. You're a baby vessel. That's your only role. You're a housewife. That's your only role, etc., etc.
Yeah. Serve and support
It's
your man.
puritanical culture all over again.
Mm.
and there are so many women who are on board with this. I don't think that the influencers who are talking about women giving up the right to vote actually wants their right to vote taken away. They just want everybody who votes differently than them to lose their right to vote.
Yeah,
Um,
and
now,
here's the thing about it though, like part of it is right. Like they're going to come after, and they're saying it themselves, everyone who commits crimes, which is how the spokesperson for Trump's campaign currently puts it. meaning everyone who speaks against Trump, and they say it. Anyone who dissents, and the white Christian nationalists are saying it. Anyone who goes against Project 2025 or Trump or the conservative whatever, because we're evil. We have to be uh, like Joel Webben and fucking what Stephen Wolf said. They have to crush the enemies of God's chosen people. Who do you think that is? And when Project 2025, God forbid, if it comes like into being, is only going to solidify the fascism within our government that will make it so that that's the way things are.
Yeah.
Women lose their right to vote if a pregnancy goes wrong because that's how they'll control us.
And anyone who supports them or is their ally in the process, including their doctor or their
Yeah, their
partner,
doctor, their
etc.
husband, their daughter, their sister, their friend, their colleague, anybody.
And
Yeah.
they've made it abundantly clear that what they mean by make America great again is bring America back to the 1880s, before women had rights, before you could be educated, before you could have a job, before you could bank, before you could own property, before you could vote,
Before
before you could
that,
have a say.
before the Civil War, they want slavery back
Exactly.
too. Don't get me wrong. They want for-profit prisons where they could put all of their new felons, their female felons, to make another buck off of us.
Well, and a
That's part
big
of it.
a big problem,
Mhm.
and we talked about this briefly before, is that the suffrage movement in the United States, in particular, but it's also very obvious in South Africa and other countries, it was racist. The beginning was white women of influence, and white women of money, and they're still talking about. I mean, many of the countries that did give women the right to vote, they started with giving white women who were landowners and paid taxes the right first. And then even here in the US, the suffragist movement was deeply scarred by racism and by classism, deeply. And it delayed it. That's part of why the ERA didn't pass. They blocked it themselves because it also recognized all women, not just white women who are married to rich people.
Mhm. And
And
I
they've
think
been
the biggest
planting those seeds
oh, go ahead.
with the immigration stuff and everything else. They've been planting those seeds of there are people that are less than, and now they're coming after women specifically because we are the majority, and we do vote at a higher rate usually than men.
Yeah. So like, I mean, we all, male or female, have a responsibility to talk to whoever we need to, even if you think they may not listen, you never know. Like, I mean, if they're hardcore MAGA, yeah, probably they're too far gone. But, you're Republican and, they're still out there. They're still like moderates who are, by moderate, I mean like center. There's still people who are center who teeter a little into the right, and was it that lady that was on Tony's show the other day of
Carrie
the
Jacobus.
percentage of Republicans who will not vote for Trump and will end up voting for Biden because they don't want to throw away their vote. They'll like hold their nose and vote for Biden. Like that's a huge voting percentage. Um, and a lot of those people are in Georgia. A lot of in the swing states, especially, you have to talk to everybody if and I don't like talking. I don't like people, to be honest, but you know, um, like this is too important. Like I went to my next door neighbor's. He's a recently um, sworn in citizen. He's from Mexico and has been trying to here legally, completely legal. But he's finally a citizen. So I went over there and I was like, you need to make sure you're registered to vote because you can vote now. And you might like, you don't have to tell me who you want to vote for, but let me just tell you, if Donald Trump comes back in office, all your family that comes to visit, like they're probably not going to be allowed to come and visit. In fact, they might want you out too, even though you are a full citizen, if they want to deport naturalized citizens. So, I'm not trying to say anything, but
Yeah,
You know,
we've got to keep talking to people like Amanda's Miracle Chipmunk Milk was saying in the Tony Michael server the other or today earlier. She was saying we need to implement Operation Warn a Bitch. Talk to people.
I like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
My daughter, she had a new friend come over for the first time a few days ago, and I met her mom, and it turned out that we had both moved to the same neighborhood like within like 6 months of each other, so we were both kind of new. And I was telling her, "Yeah, I'm from Texas. We're both in Maryland now." And she was like, "Oh, you'll have to take me on a tour sometime." I was like, "No, not until I get to be a full citizen in my state again. I'm not
All
going."
right.
If you've heard about the fall of how Roe v. Wade was overturned, right? And she was like, "Yeah, but," I was like, "Well." So I made sure she was caught up, and she knew about most of it, but there was some that she didn't know about, and I told her about Project 2025, and I'm sure she thought I was a little bit nuts. Maybe I think I pulled it off with some charisma and charm, but you never know. I don't know,
Of course you
but
did.
it's always good to open your mouth
Because it
because you're going to
sounds
kick
so
yourself if you
weird.
don't. It might, but I mean, people have heard of the Heritage Foundation, um, and we can bring up clips very easily. And if anybody needs clips, there are plenty on the Tony Michaels YouTube from Dr. Kevin Roberts. He is the head of he spearheaded Project 2025. He's the bald headed toad looking fucker on the
Accurate.
news morning show. That is explaining how great Project 2025 is, and just trust him that it's great. It's a
On the Library
nightmare.
Democracy YouTube channel, I have a whole thing about the Heritage Foundation, and um, I did a little intro to the. It's very short on Project 2025, where and I forgot what he said, but like there's this quote that he gives from like before it was before Project 2025 came into fruition. Um, but it was the basic gist of we're gonna take back America for. It wasn't necessarily racist. It was definitely nationalist and like Christian, and he's a believer. Like he believes he's.
I was
You
all
should
for it.
also Google Dr. Kevin Roberts, folks. If he was president of a university in Wyoming for a while, and he uh, is so hardcore that stopped he stopped taking federal funds for because of Title IX, and Title IX is like sexual harassment in the workplace type
It's
regulations.
also an education that they can't discriminate by gender on admissions.
Yeah, so they stopped taking federal money. He had the university stop taking any type of
Huh.
federal money, like Pell Grants, any type of federal scholarship, anything that was has a stipulation that you can't discriminate based on gender, race.
Doesn't that just hurt the students?
Yeah,
Makes
They
it
don't
so
care.
but
that
I mean,
people
if
that need to use those kinds of financing can't apply? Or,
no, you can still go there. You're just not getting funding from federal programs. Like they're not. You're not. Don't bother filling out your FAFSA because,
oh, that sucks.
like,
Oh, what a
And that's a big part of Project
gatekeeping
2025. They want to dissolve
fucking.
the Department of Education. And one of the things that it's in charge of is Title IX. So some people think Title IX is just about women in sports, but it's about so many other things as well, including their inability to
yeah,
discriminate at a university for your ability to apply for college, get the same degree,
maternity
and that
stuff.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Uh, our school recently got nursing rooms. They're kind of in stupid places on camp. Like so, if I wanted to, well, I have an office, but let's say I was a student and I needed some place to nurse, I'd have to walk to another building. But still, they're there. I mean, there's a family bath. We have
Start.
family bathrooms now for babies. So, um,
That's really cool.
you know, like things have changed, but that all goes away. Even the consideration of that kind of stuff goes away with Project 2025. And what's even more messed up is, you know, I've read the entire thing. God. Like that was
I'm sorry.
that
Thank
that
you
took
for
a
your
I took
service.
a
Thank you.
that took a while. Like it was kind of like when I read Mein Kampf, like I could only do a few pages every few days.
Yeah.
Every day. Like I could only do so much per day because it's just like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but it feels like that they're just taking random departments and like slapping them together where they think there's redundancy or it doesn't need to be there. Like the NIH, they're going to put CDC and NIH, lump them together, which they do two totally different things. And
Mhm.
those would go under the president too. And he has the right to fire any federal appointed federal employee. So that means if Donald Trump wants people to believe that you need to like inject bleach, that's what the if the director of the NIH, who was Dr. Fauci, I don't know who it is now, but um, you know, they have to do it or get fired.
That's
So
the scariest thing about Project 2025 is it puts everything under the president. It makes the president a god king, and absolutely believe that he will use that power if given it
right.
to destroy any progress we've ever made and any progress we could make in the future.
Yeah. And they're currently filling um, their rosters of people to pick from to fill these jobs right now. They
Mm-hmm.
have thousands and thousands and thousands of applicants ready to go for not just, Trump, if God forbid he wins in November, which isn't going to fucking happen because we won't let it. But not just that, but they're going to hand it to any conservative president
Hmm.
in the future. So this is, yes, our most important election we may have ever had in this country. Especially in the modern era. But the next
It's
one
not
is going to be
exaggerating.
equally as fraught because these
Yeah.
fuckers are tenacious. They're not going anywhere.
They
They're
don't.
embedded. They have
They
their
play the long
claws in.
game hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've
Yeah.
got to play the long game too.
Yeah. We
Um,
can't
I just
let up.
wanted to I just wanted to address this question. The Heritage Foundation is a nonprofit, but it's not a 503c. It's a 504 something. But so basically, if you donate, you don't get a tax deduction. Um, they do have
Yeah, and
like,
there's about 80 organizations that are teaming up with Heritage Foundation on Project 2025, and many of them are nonprofits, but if they're 501c4s, they are allowed to be politically engaged.
yeah, and a lot of them, if you'll notice, like Liberty University, I think is 503c. You don't really see them talking too much
Hmm.
because um, they want their federal funding, even though um, it's a private school. They still like get federal funds. Like when you fill out your FAFSA, you can still get federal funding to go to school there. Um, so, um, what was I going to say? Anyway, so yeah, that that was. I just wanted to answer that question. So they can be like this, although they'll say that they'll work with anybody. And that might have been true like 15, 20 years ago, because I know Bill Clinton actually followed some of their suggestions. Um, but, and one of their, Mike Garcia, his last name is either Garcia or Gonzalez, but he did an interview with Margaret Hoover. And he was like, he tried to pull that shit of like, yeah, the Heritage Foundation will work with anybody as long as it's conservative values. And I'm just like, yeah, right. Come on now. That might have been, it might have been true. Like, because when they were first
Well, I
founded, they went
mean,
to the Carter campaign too, and um, were like, hey, this is our ideas, and um,
but here's the
I don't.
thing. What are conservative values right now today, though?
Oh yeah, conservatism in 1976 or 1970,
Very different from
very
conservatism in
different. Like conservatives in
2024.
1976 were actually like they were more just
Oh,
small government, low taxes type conservatives, you know. Um,
is
Fix
this
yourself.
better if I get closer to my microphone? Is this better? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, something.
In the
I
audio
could
settings,
hear
you can
you the
also
whole
turn up your
time.
volume.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay.
No, Godfrey said she's low.
I'm trying.
Um, so one of the big things that happened like in 2020 and in the midterms and in some of these other races is women overwhelmingly saved our asses. And by voting at a greater rate, and they have women traditionally do vote at a higher rate than men, particularly educated women. But we have to make sure that they stay engaged and that they do that and that they raise children who do the same and that they talk to their
And
friends and family about that.
and if you live in a blue state like New York, I still tell all my because the local races matter so much. That's really how they've gained, because Heritage Foundation really until Trump was almost on its way out. Like it lost so much political clout, it lost so much ground, and it's crazy. And then it was like they Trump breathed life back into it, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
they were. I mean, they
It's
they
my
write law.
understanding that it's my understanding that the Heritage Foundation approached Reagan when he was first elected with their version of Project 2025 then, and
Mhm.
he was like, "Nope." And I mean, you guys know I think Reagan is Satan.
Oh
Um,
no, he implemented most of what they suggested.
did he?
They
There was some stuff that he wouldn't do for them, and they were just like,
yeah, they
"We're
gave a
sorry."
wish list, but
Hmm.
it was like he implemented a lot. What they did was the what was that guy's name? I'm not prepared. But the Heritage Foundation went to both campaigns, but they knew Reagan would be the one. And in fact, like there's tons of pictures in that one video of the founder of Heritage with Reagan. I think he even sat on the first not board meeting,
Hmm.
cabinet meeting of Reagan's. And the Project 2025, every year, every presidential election, they have a mandate for leadership book, and they give it to every president since 1970 something. This is their mandate for leadership edition. It's just the craziest of crazy of what they've come up with. Um, like previous years don't hold a candle to the crazy of what's in Project 2025. And I think so anyway, if you have friends that live in blue states, that doesn't relieve their responsibility from voting. Um,
No, and we still have to
Yeah,
deal with
no
the
one is
electoral
safe.
college, so we
No one is
need to,
safe.
yeah.
Everyone needs to get out and
And
vote.
and you're absolutely right. Those local ballots are so incredibly important because those people rise up through the ranks and take their shitty ideas with them.
well, they've been right now. You know what's really scary too? Like, let's think about riddle me this. Okay, so let's say, God forbid, knock on wood, God forbid, Trump gets elected. They can have a constitutional convention, or because you only need 2/3 to call one, and they have 2/3. They and why this has a point. Local elections matter because the red state supermajorities, they've been targeting the red states or the most likely to turn red for decades, slowly turning the political climate and local climate and school boards and state Senate seats, state House of Representatives, mayors, um, deputies, sheriffs. And now, if God forbid a constitutional convention is called, they could completely revamp the
They
because
could undo everything.
it yeah, I mean it has to pass. I forgot what the House and Senate. It's like 3/4 or 2/3. It's a lot to
It's
for
a
a
high
constitutional
threshold.
amendment.
Yeah,
But
for
if they have, I don't think they'll have the House. But like eventually, they just won't care.
yeah,
You
they'll
know,
just do it. They'll
they'll just
they'll
do
pull
it.
a Trump. They'll do it, and then they'll either get stopped or they'll get away with it. That's how Trump
Hmm.
functions. That's how
Mm-hmm.
his
When
four
they're
years
grooming a new
functioned. He
generation of
just
them.
did shit. How does he do anything? He just does shit. They're just gonna do shit.
Yeah, and they'll lie about
So
it, and they'll pull it back and then change. Oh, no, 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 this is what we meant when it's getting too much heat. But they told you who they are. They've been
Yeah.
very clear on who they are and what they want.
Yeah. Now they know
and
what they can and can't do and how slick they need to be about it. Sorry, go ahead.
I think they did fuck up one way. And I said this to Tony. I don't know if he'd remember, but I said to Tony when we started talking about this a year ago, we were noticing about Project 2025. I was like, I think they're releasing, if they really want to blindside Americans, don't release this. Like, you should have waited till the last minute. And I know they're trying to get their little army of like soulless creeps going,
But
but
they should have released like a short version, not all the details, because we've had time
yeah.
now to go through it and pick it apart and put
Um,
sunlight on it.
yeah, so um, I think every single one of you who's listening, if you're listening to this after it's over as a recording, you really have, if you care about democracy, if you like don't want women to be like the handmaid's tale, it's your responsibility not just to tell people, in your circle, hey, you need to vote, but you should be prepared to know about 2025. You don't have to read all 900 pages. There's summaries out there's one, I think that's a 40 page if you really want to it, but there's plenty of videos on it. I say if you really want to go to the document, read the foreword, and that's enough to tell you exactly what it's going to be. And it's linked, the chapters are linked. So if you don't care about Homeland Security, but you do want to know what they want to do about communication, to include getting rid of NPR and PBS because they're socialist or communist stations now, they want the president
Because
to
they
be
teach
controlling
empathy.
those. They want the president to be controlling the airwaves. Do you know what that means?
Oh my god, we're gonna be
So they
watching
can,
so much The Apprentice.
like,
So he can get royalties on it. You realize that.
like,
Like, it's gonna
yeah,
get real stupid.
it's going to get stupid, and he can spew propaganda and hate through that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to be. So, you don't have to read the whole thing, but if you care about education, read the education section. Not,
Or the health section, or
just
the,
not
yeah.
one part is all that long. It's the cumulative body that makes it 900 pages.
Yeah, because they've
Um,
thought of everything. They want to go into everything
and
they
they
can.
do all this in 4 years. They're not giving up power.
They're
You
going to be
can't
ready to go
rehire
on day
40,
one.
you can't
Remember.
rehire 40,000 people. Um,
Well, and that's a big part of what, and we've talked about this before, the whole thing about the administrative state that they have such a fit about, that's what makes us run. If there wasn't these experienced administrative state that
mhm.
does these jobs, does it administration to administration, the veterans wouldn't get paid, the active duty wouldn't get paid, the government would not fucking run. Because every time we changed administrations, they'd have to put in new people, and there would be a gap when they're trying to fill that. That these people,
Yeah.
they're not
There's a
covert
reason
ops.
there's
They
a
are normal
bureaucracy.
people.
And they're
Right.
civil servants to prevent nepotism, to prevent job corruption.
Yeah, and to give
Could it
And
be
there are
more
rules on
efficient?
stability,
civil
you know?
servants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could it be more efficient? I'm sure. Are there people who get on the system? I'm sure. Could it stand some reform? Probably. But to just wipe it out and replace it with people who are just gonna, like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, and that's the thing
Yeah.
I'm hearing from a lot of young people is they don't want to vote because they think the whole system's broken, and they're like, we just need to throw it out and start over. And I'm like, okay, that's anarchy. And do you realize how long it took us to set up the Constitution we have? All the amendments have been made to it since then to just give basic rights to the majority of us. And you want to throw that out and just see what sticks to the wall? Can you imagine? Like,
Yeah,
use what already exists and modify it. There's no
and here's
reason
the
to start from scratch.
and here's the thing. That we it was doable back when all that you had to really kill somebody with was maybe a cannon or a musket. Bitch, we have like drones and shit that can kill you from like
Yeah.
miles away.
they'll never
and
even see the drone. Anything.
citizens with AR-15s. It won't be fucking pretty to burn it all down and start new. That's what people don't understand. It's democracy is the best option. Humanity has tried all the others. I mean, fucking believe us. We've tried all the
It's
others.
not a
This is the
perfect
best
system.
one. No, but it gets us closer to where we want
At
to
least we're
be, closer
trying.
to less and less suffering, more happiness, more safety, more kindness, more health, more time
I'm
with
just
the
gonna be
people that
like,
we love. I mean, God's sake.
tonight, I mean, I'm always pretty blunt, but I usually have some, like, I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all, like, listening, if you're listening later, like, you cannot allow, if you have a young person, like my daughter started spitting out some bullshit she heard from Blue Anon about Palestine,
You know,
and I was just like, girlfriend, okay, it's complicated. Okay. You don't know anything about the conflict now, and you don't know anything about the conflict 2,000 years ago today, like the round today. I don't even know
or
all that.
10 years ago, or 20 years
20,
ago, or
yeah.
40 years ago. I mean,
So,
it's all
like, your little
important.
TikTok video that you saw is probably Blue Anon being douches. And, like, the same goes with like anybody, any young person, any old person, anybody telling you that maybe we should just blow up the system and start over. Okay, you know what makes our country, like, everyone puts their money, stores their shit in the US, like their gold, their assets, they buy up shit, and because we're stable. Political stability is the one of the biggest reasons why
Yeah, being able
we're
to,
on the petrodollar and people speak English the most, and why a lot of stuff is based on our economic system with international trade and everything, because that is, like, we're stable. Like, in the last 200 years, look at all the wars. Where were they all fought? Where are the most, and do they, like, there's a reason why certain countries can't progress, because they're always in civil war. So, like, it's your responsibility to, like, call people out and tell them they're wrong. And I don't expect anybody to hear some random person in the checkout line, yeah, but like the people, your circle of influence, like, yeah, you have the responsibility, we all do. And this shit is real. Like, it's not
Well, and the point I
alarmist.
made to that person was, you drive on roads. How do you think roads are funded and maintained? You have a bank account and you make money in your business that you own. How do you think all that runs without a government? You have insurance. How do you think all that works without government? Like, I hear you, there's problems, but the solution isn't to toss it all out and start over, because unfortunately we have to deal with the, pardon the pun, the elephant in the room, which is that a large portion of people are greedy and suck, and they're going to line their own
Mhm.
pockets at the cost of other people. And that's just a fact of life that we have to deal with. 20% of people are just shitty people. And that goes for both sides. That's not unique to any demographic. But left to their own devices, people will absolutely hoard things. They will absolutely justify hurting others and holding things back. That's why we agree to enter a civil society together. We give up certain rights so that we can all live fairly safely. And I'm sorry, it's worth it to me to
yeah,
know that I can go to the grocery store and probably not die, and that the food I buy is probably not going to be poisoned. I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
yeah. I give up the right
um
to buy whatever, to build a nuclear reactor in my microwave if I feel like it on a Tuesday, so that I can
Exactly.
live in a neighborhood with other
you want to
people and go
know
to
what a
schools.
civil war looks like modern day? You need to watch that movie Civil War that just came out. I never buy movies. I rarely watch movies more than once, because once I've seen it, I don't want to see it again. I bought that. Not only did I buy that movie, I've watched it like 3 times because it's so haunting to me. And a lot of people think I'm an idiot, but like, what got me wasn't the story of the reporters. It was how people acted, how the bloodshed was happening. It is completely plausible. And that's probably very close to what it would look like. Maybe we could have a movie night.
That's a really good
And
idea. I think, yeah,
um,
we can talk about it
and
offline.
Discord, yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we should
like
definitely do
I
that.
highly suggest that folks watch because that is plausible what will happen. And you think the economy sucks now? I don't think it does, but people think it does. Other people think it does. Well, wait till wait till we hit civil war, and then inflation is 300% instead of just 3 to 10%. Like, like it's really
Or
time for critical thinking. And
or your local farmers will check your voting registration before they agree to sell you vegetables.
and do you honestly think that if they're willing to do all this, that they won't like find out who voted for Biden and like penalize them somehow? You know,
I mean, it's like
like
Tony said, when he's talking to MAGA people, he's like, I hope you do vote for Trump. If you're not going to vote for Biden, I hope you do vote for Trump. Because if he does win, because of fucks like you that didn't, vote for democracy, if he does win, he's going to find out who didn't fucking vote for him. And I want your family to be safe. Those are
yeah,
the kind
Yeah,
of
that story
Nazis
he
that
tells
are,
about talking to his friend is so powerful because it's so true.
yeah,
I told
like,
my parents aren't MAGA, but they're Trump supporters. And I told them, don't come crying to me. Like when you lose your Social Security, they don't depend on Social Security, but they get a nice chunk of change from Social Security that they, I know, would hate to lose because they live in Long Island, New York. Um, I was like, and I'm not serious when I say this, but I kind of am in a way. When you lose your Social Security because of Trump, don't come crying to me and looking to live with me because you were too stupid to realize that he was serious when he said getting rid of Social Security. Like, and I'm not going to let my parents
So,
be homeless, or anything,
yeah,
but like,
but still, in terms of solutions, so obviously, be an educated voter, encourage those around you to vote, but also be aware of legislations in place in many states that are putting restrictions on voting. They're challenging same day voter registration. They're challenging um, absentee voting. They're challenging drop boxes, and they're particularly challenging drop boxes in um, minority majority places. So, like, the people
Ballotpedia,
who are least likely, to be able to leave work early for the day or take the day off to go vote and need to be able to use that drop box, they're putting them in faraway communities so that they don't have access to them, so that their vote never gets counted in the first place. Yes, Ballotpedia is an amazing resource. There's a lot more on Library of
they
Democracy.
have
One of the
a,
things,
oh, I just wanted to really quick, I put the link to this page directly in the chat. They have a new feature now called the election legislation tracker. So in any state,
oh, cool.
it'll track. They also have one for general legislation, but I sent the link for because that one's a little bit more robust than the other one. But any state, you can track what's going on in as far as elections. But Ballotpedia, I have on the Library of Democracy. I have a lot of videos talking about some of the key highlights. None of the videos are all that long, and there's some shorts too. So you don't have to sit if you don't have 10 minutes. There's a 2-minute version as well. So yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot of really great tools. States vary on their voter identification laws as well. So if you, what is it, vote.us.gov or one of those where, shit, I have a voter program coming up in September and I've just been looking at all these and I can't think of it. But there's several different tools that will tell you what the voter rules are in your state, some states, if you're a first time voter, you
Plan
have to
your
have your ID. Some states you don't.
Here
Is
is
it
the link.
vote.gov?
The one I plan your vote is
Plan your vote. Okay, that one
vote
does too.
one one
There's several of them
vote
out there.
411.org
Yeah.
/plan, which I'll put the link in. But this one you can put your that's quite a long link.
You put your zip code and it'll do it. Yeah.
Oh wow, it did. Sorry guys. I'm going to delete that because it gave the Bing. I did it directly from the search engine. Um, sorry, guys. Talk amongst yourselves.
We could probably add it to show notes later, or get it in the Discord,
Yes.
or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
however you
No,
want
Yeah,
to do
we
it
can
later.
add
Yeah.
tools to the show notes would be great. There's
Yep.
also a really cool one, and it used to be ActiVote, I believe. They'll ask you a number of questions about your political leanings, multiple choice, and it will then tell you like who most closely matches your political affiliation. And let me tell you, I was surprised. I was more in line with someone that I didn't think I liked politically than I thought I was. And I think when it's separated from the parties, when you're just answering the questions without knowing whose viewpoint it is, and you just answer the question honestly, it may give you some idea. There's also an, I don't know, I can't, my brain, stupid brain, vacation brain. There's several of them as well that you can rate your local elected officials. You can also see where they stand on various issues, so it can help educate you and inform you before you go to vote in the first place.
Very cool. Well, it looks like we have about 3 or 4 minutes left.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it's already
I,
8:42.
oh, wow. Time
Time flies.
flies.
I know. Been having such a good time.
I forgot to. We. Um, I'll put these in the show notes, but we had some fun facts about voting, and we'll get
Want to
really
rip through a
quick.
couple of them real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
So get my trusty reading glasses out now, but
Oh, the
I
readers.
the readers. I had no idea I could use reading glasses.
Readers,
No, I'm
guys.
so
It's okay.
well. I'm so nearsighted, so I just didn't think. But anyway, one thing I thought interesting was top reasons for not voting, um, and the states with the highest and lowest voter turnouts. New York really surprised me, but I guess not, because if you think that your vote isn't going to matter anyway, if you're a Republican and you don't feel like going, yeah, your vote probably doesn't matter. Like in the grand scheme of the presidential election, but it vote matters in your local stuff. Um, but yeah,
But think about it.
so
Like when you look at Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, West Virginia, Utah, what do they have in common? Red states, low economic, socioeconomic prospect, um, draconian voter laws in the first place. So of course there's fewer people voting. We need to make a federal holiday for election day, full stop. B, we should automatically make people register, just like you do the draft for the selective service for men when they turn 18. Every single person when they turn 18 should automatically be registered to vote, period. Now, whether they choose to use it or not, personally, I think
Up
they
to
should
them.
have to, but that's just me. But I'm not going to be an authoritarian here. So, but at least they're registered. And then making it easy for them to change their voter registration. No fault absentee voting. There's no reason why you can't vote from your computer, from home, at your convenience. We have the technology, motherfuckers. Use it. We don't need to use a paper ballot. We don't need no stinking hanging chads. There's no reason for this crap in this time. If we can fund a military the way we do, we can protect electronic voting security. And it's
um,
funny that the people who are losing the elections are the ones screaming about voter integrity, and then when they find the actual um, cheaters, as it were, it's usually their party. This is the year that each country gave voting rights to women. Notice the asterisks in Canada, the US, and a bunch of others. That's because they initially only gave it to landowning tax paying women or only to white women at first. Eventually, they did pass more universal suffrage, but it took a while.
Interesting. So the ones without the asterisks all gave to just anyone that
Everyone at
I
once.
guess presented or identified female at the time.
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah. So like Denmark, for
oops,
example,
sorry.
if you were a landowning woman in Copenhagen, you've had the right to vote since like 1884. And then it wasn't until
Wow, that's
1907 that they expanded it to all women. Some of them had age restrictions. One of them, I can't remember which one, the initial rule was that you had to be over 40. Another one, it was over 30. And then eventually they went to legal voting age. So for a period of time, even though women mature faster, younger men were able to vote before women were.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is
Like
so
some of these
fucked up.
countries,
And
I'm looking at
these
like.
Yeah, Saudi
I'm sorry. Go
Arabia
go ahead.
just passed women's rights to vote. They just
That's
got the right
crazy.
to drive back recently in the last,
Oh, they finally let women drive again.
yeah, I think it just happened like 4 years ago. So it hadn't been long. The earliest, so I did pull some stats because librarian and nerd.
Yeah.
The earliest countries or places that allowed voting was the Corsica Republic, which is now part of France. They gave universal voting in 1755. The Pitcairn Island in 1838, and the Isle of Man 1881, and Cook Islands in 1893. All of them lost universal suffrage due to colonization. Imagine that.
Huh.
And then the first permanent and independent country to grant universal suffrage was New Zealand in 1893. And there's some really interesting theories on why New Zealand was so damn early versus everyone else. Um, the other thing, do you have the US one, the US states one, Allison?
Yes. That one.
Okay, notice that she's marching west to east. That's because the western states had the right to vote because it's a state level decision, or it was. They had the right to vote far earlier, like early 1880s. And they were marching to the east, the eastern seaboard in the middle of the country, in the south, of course. Women did not have the right to vote until much later. The theory is that New Zealand and the western part of the US had something in common in that A, there weren't that many women because there were pioneers, the pioneer independent spirit associated with being a pioneer, and women were viewed as the more moral of the sex that would keep them in line. And so that's why they gave the right to vote to women earlier. Also, the idea that a woman who can survive in pioneering conditions for that damn long and work that hard right beside you get a little respect. And so they started giving them the vote.
finally,
You know what I noticed too? Okay, notice
damn.
Arizona was like one of the states that was, giving women to vote. That's the same state that like that draconian abortion law from like 1960 or 1864.
1864.
Like
Yep.
they even allowed the right to vote for women faster than
Well,
some of the.
freaking Kansas is still doing all kinds of stupid shit, and they were one of the early ones to have. Now, there's some that are still very progressive. California, Oregon, and Washington, depending on where you are still very progressive states. But the further east you go, there's also an idea that the ones that were further east are more densely populated. They received the most amount of immigrants, with the exception of California, from the Chinese immigration during the railroading and gold rush, and that they're probably more closely tied to the motherland or the old country and the religious ideas of Puritanism and other faiths. Whereas those who went west probably were godless heathens, and we love them for it.
Totally. Because
Or
we're godless
Mormon.
heathens.
Anyway,
I read a really quick before we go. I read a headline that said that Utah was the least MAGA state of all the red states. I can see why.
really?
Yeah,
Oh God, I
I
hope
can see.
so.
Like I can see why. I mean, look at Mitt Romney. I mean, yeah, he has some he's conservative. He's Mitt Romney, but there's a big difference between Mitt Romney and like average Joe
Mike
MAGA
Lee.
supporter. Mike
Mike Lee is
Lee.
another Mormon, but he is kind of MAGA.
Oh,
Is he
he's
Well,
Mormon?
totally MAGA.
but that's such a big thing about putting religion back into public schools. Like, even Christians can't agree they can't agree on most
Yeah.
things
Right.
in their book. And so, I mean, God knows they're not going to let the Mormons lead the MAGA revolution.
Or the
No offense to
Catholics.
Mormons, just saying
No.
that, MAGA is firmly like a very specific kind of Christianity. They're not going to want another sect of the faith to be the one
Mhm.
dictating. So, one more
You know,
reason
which
why there
which
should be a
sect?
separation.
And
Yeah.
I've said this before. I hate saying the word Christian. I believe in God and I still believe in Christ and stuff. I don't believe in fellowship with people who like use religion as an excuse for bigotry and hatred and racism, and to be their worst version of themselves and call it biblical. Like, I don't believe in that. But like, what I was getting to is that, like, I don't want my kids having religion in school. First of all, if you don't want your kids being taught sex ed, religion is like, why would you want teachers teaching religion in school of any faith?
And you have the option of sending your child to a parochial school if that is your choice.
Yeah. What happened to homeschooling your kids, or sending them to Catholic school or parochial school or whatever school? What happened to that?
Well, they want us to pull all of our kids out of school too, but we can talk about that next.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. Yeah, we got to go. So thanks everybody for playing and listening. If you could all like this, maybe share it.
Check your voter registration.
Subscribe. Check your voter registration.
If you know any rad ladies that might be into watching a show with some rad ladies, share it.
We need to hear some hard truth, like, because we'll give it to them. They may not like hearing it, but they need to hear it.
Start them with the pregnancy episode.
Oh, that'll be a fun way to get to know us.
Or the period one. The period one was
also
a great way to find out what we're really like.
We're always better than adequate. We thought we might be not better than adequate today.
Oh no, we fucking nailed it today.
But we nailed it.
Out of the park.
We were a little nervous, so.
Everybody go enjoy the debate. Or whatever it's going to be.
See you in Discord, hopefully. All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.